we're going to be doing a very professional, very organized perk tier list. We're going to start off that professional aspect by making sure we're recording, so there we go. And yeah, with the new rank reset that just happened yesterday, I want to decide what perks I think people should be running if they're wanting to rank up right now, at least on the killer's end of things. With the update that's coming, that's going to change how killers and survivors win. That could change. This could change a lot. But for right now, if you're wanting to rank up, this is about what you're probably gonna want to use. It's in the end, it's still just an opinion, and feel free to tell me how you think it should be in the comments or whatever. Okay, so we'll start with Agitation. The main problem killers have is not really reaching the hook. The problem is actually like stopping survivors who body block the hook. And so Iron Grasp becomes more of a useful perk over Agitation, because Agitation only helps you get to a hook, and because sabotaging is so unpopular right now, it's not really being seen that much. And so I don't think Agitation is... it's not bad, but it's just not very positively looked at currently. I give it A-. Nurse's Calling is one of the few perks you're probably going to see in A+. I really can't give any perk right now anything above A+. Nurse's Calling is great right now. It's not uncommon that you're going to hit somebody and then you're going to lose them due to them getting away while you break a pallet or what have you. So having a Nurse's Calling just really helps you to find that survivor again if they start healing. Barbeque and Chili. Probably the best killer perk in the game right now, in my eyes. I can't give it S. I just don't think any perk is that good, but I do think Barbecue and Chili is the best killer perk in the game. I don't have the luxury of using it myself, because I only have it on Leatherface, and I don't really like Leatherface, so I can't use it that much myself, but I see other people use it. I know how good it is. It provides such a great blood point boost, but also the actual mechanic it provides is really important to killers right now. So I think it really it's the one thing that gives killer a solid hope. Beast of Prey, it's not stupidly bad, but it's not good by any means. It's rare for a killer to even get Bloodlust to begin with, and if that killer does get Bloodlust, they're going to lose it really fast by either getting stunned by a pallet or breaking a pallet or whatever, because you lose Bloodlust whenever you break a pallet, because that makes sense, right? And most people don't even rely on the red stain. They don't. I mean, they may rely on it a little bit here and there, but most of the time they're not really caring about that. So even if you do get the benefit from getting Bloodlust that this perk provides, it's not even that important. I can give it B. That's about the best I can do. Bitter Murmur. With No One Escapes Death, it's good-ish. Even then, it's ish. But without No One Escapes Death, it is not good. And if a perk's only good whenever it's combined with another perk, it is not very useful. I'd put it next to Beast of Prey. Needs reworked. You either have to make the duration like 20 seconds for this perk to be useful from what it provides right now, or you have to completely rework the perk. Bloodhound's really strong right now. I'm going to go ahead and give it A, because I think Bloodhound is great right now. With how unreliable scratch marks are for the killer, Bloodhound is great. It provides, you know, a new way of tracking the survivor, because you barely can rely on scratch marks right now. You really should be looking for blood, if anything. So I think Bloodhound's great. I think it actually helps killers track. Warden, it's hard for me to give my opinion on this perk, because I just don't have too much insight on its use. Based on from the little experience I have, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's very rare for it to actually get much use, because it's rare for the killer to even be getting hooks once the gates are open. The killer's lucky to even like hit somebody once the gates are powered. And even if somebody gets hooked, the other survivors are either looking to get out as soon as they go down, or they're looking to go for the save. So it's really not that big of a deal most of the time that the exit gate gets closed off. I still don't think it's bad, but I can't say it's like as good as any of these 3 perks. I'd put it next to Agitation. Brutal Strength. With how powerful pallets are right now, and with how abundant they are, I do think Brutal Strength is good. I think it can easily be put next to Bloodhound. It's really hard to even get survivors to throw down the pallet to begin with, but once they do, you need to be able to break it fast. If you want to be able to break the pallet, if you want to actually be able to keep up a pretty solid chase after breaking a pallet, you pretty much need Brutal Strength. Unless you're like the nurse, obviously. Deerstalker. Slugging is not very popular right now. Most of the time, you're not going to actually knock somebody down and choose not to hook them. If you knock somebody down, it's very unlikely that you're not going to hook them. Currently, it's unlikely that you're not even going to camp them. So, Deerstalker inherently is not bad, but due to the way the game plays out right now, it is not all that strong. I can't say it's as bad as these two, though. Distressing. It's great point farm. If you want to play the Doctor and run this thing, you can get max deviousness every game. You can get max deviousness without it if you're semi-decent, but that's besides the point. As far as the actual benefit that this perk provides of an increased terror radius, it's not that useful. I know people like it on the Doctor. I don't. I think it's dumb to run on the Doctor. I don't like increasing the range of that shock therapy, because in my eyes, that's only a hindrance. Due to the fact that they are screaming from a further distance, and it makes it less clear as to where they are exactly. But overall, I can't say it's like worse than Beasts of Prey or Bitter Murmur, so I put it next to them. Dying Light. I hate Dying Light. Its design is horrible, but as far as its position in the meta, it's probably about equal with these perks, because you're relying on finding the obsession to begin with. So basically, if you find somebody and they're not your obsession, you pretty much have to choose not to chase them, and you have to go find somebody else. And even if they are your obsession, you have to be willing to hook them and probably hard camp them if you want to make them die as fast as possible. And even then, it's going to take 80 seconds, and during that 80 seconds... Alright, sorry, we're going to deal with that. The other survivors are going to get gens done. And by the time the negative effect is actually in place, they're going to have almost all, if not all, gens done. Enduring, very strong right now. I can easily give it A, because right now, if you want to get a pallet to be thrown down, you really have to disrespect them hard. And most of the time, you're absolutely going to get stunned whenever you disrespect it, unless the survivor just happens to screw up. So you really need to be able to reduce that stun just to be able to actually do something. Franklin's Demise. When flashlights were really strong, this thing was really strong. After flashlights got nerfed during the Wraith Cube, I don't think it's quite as necessary, but it's still good in general to get rid of some items, because items can make such a huge difference, obviously. So I'd still give it A-. Fire Up. It's a great perk concept, but what it's really providing is almost useless at times. I'm almost willing to say it's worse than all of these perks. By the time you're actually getting a good benefit out of this thing, survivors are probably going to be in a pretty gen-rushy mindset if they're not from the start. And it's not really going to be seen much use. You're better off switching it out for something else. Devour Hope. As much as I love this perk, it's my favorite perk in the entire game, it's not that strong. By the time you're really getting benefit out of it, so we're talking like, you know, being able to one-shot somebody or kill them, you're very lucky to even be able to kill people with this thing. But by the time you're actually getting decent tokens on this perk, people are probably going to be aware of its location, and it's just going to get broken so fast it's not really going to give you any benefit. Even if you combine it with, well, no, if you combine it with Thrill of the Hunt, which we'll talk about later, it can be okay, but again, just like Bitter Murmur, it's only good when combined with another perk, so it itself is not very good. Huntress Lullaby. It's a joke. I don't think it's good. Even if you are to get the 5 tokens that you need in order to remove the audio cue for the skill checks completely, most survivors are still gonna hit the skill check pretty well, and the reduction of the audio cue from the first 4 tokens is really not hurting anybody, and then on top of that it's a hex, so it can be broken before it provides any benefit at all, so I do not think it's good. Ruin. It's gonna go up here, next to these guys. There's not very many people up here, or perks. It's great. It really is. It's the one thing that really lets you delay generators. And right now, being able to delay generators at all is great, because gen rushing is just what happens. Gen rushing is a thing that exists, believe it or not. Yeah, it's, even if it only provides a brief benefit of like a minute, that minute can be so useful right now, unfortunately, just due to how the game is. Third Seal goes down here. I really don't want to provide much of an explanation. Third Seal provides almost no use. The survivor literally has to be running perks that this thing will counter. Thrill of the Hunt. I was wanting to put it in B, but in itself it's not very good. It provides a bit of a bonus to blood points in the hunting category. It's great when combined with other hexes. If you combine it with another hex, like Ruin, let's say, I mean, it can easily jump up to like right here, but on its own, because that's what we're going by, it is not very good at all. No Escapes Death. This is probably the last perk we're going to be seeing up here. It's really good. It's not common for people to break dull totems. Most people do not care to break a dull totem. It's not worth their time. They'd rather just do the gens. So having No One Escapes Death be like a secret perk to people until the very end is that in itself is very strong, but it also is so good to recover a game where you get gen rushed, which it is a thing. So don't tell me it's not a thing. Insidious. Yeah, it's C. If you're wanting to have fun or be like really toxic, one or the other, it's great, but actually being useful, it's nothing. It's nearly D tier. Iron Grasp will be up here with these perks. Like I said, it's better than Agitation because the problem is people body blocking the hook. For all of you out there who think body blocking is like a huge problem, you can hit them, just a reminder. But Iron Grasp is what you build to counter that. So if you really want to make sure that whenever you're holding somebody you hook them, Iron Grasp is great. But I still don't think Iron Grasp provides like a huge benefit. It doesn't increase the time by that long. I have a whole video describing how much longer it gives you, and so I can't say it's like A+, but it's good. Knockout. It's not seeing much use in my eyes. I really don't see it being that useful, and I have not found many people even using it or even talking about the perk. I think it's kind of got the same story as Deerstalker. It's just not very useful since you are not slugging that often, but I still think it's even worse than Deerstalker because it provides no direct benefit to you, it only provides a hindrance to the survivors. And the hindrance is not really one that the survivors are going to care about. Lightborn. Before the flashlight changes, this perk was great, because flashlights were just way too much. Now, I don't think it's very strong. I don't see it as anything crazy. It's still good, but because flashlights take a moment to blind you to begin with, Lightborn really is not as necessary, but it's still good. So I'd put it with Franklin's Demise. Monitor and Abuse. It's kind of fun with certain killers, and I think it's my favorite killer to run this perk on is the Huntress. I think it's great because whenever she's just looking for a survivor, that broadened view is great, and then once she's actually chasing somebody, she needs her view to be tightened so she can actually hit her hatchets, because it does help to have your view tightened a little bit. And I don't think it's bad, but it's nothing I'm writing home about. I think I would run a lot of other perks over it, and so that's why I really can't put it that high up. Monster Shrine. I can't say it's as bad as Insidious. Most of the negative effects that this perk is giving are only oriented around people attempting escapes. The only other negative thing it provides is they die a little bit faster. But it's so minimal, and it's only for the basement, that I really don't see getting much use out of it at all. Even if you do hook somebody in the basement, the effects it's having on them are just not worth a perk slot. Overcharge. It's not as good as Ruin. I've had very passionate debates with people on Overcharge versus Hex Ruin. I might even make a whole video on it. But Overcharge is not as good, in my eyes, because Overcharge is relying on damaging a single generator, and that's after you get to the generator, and that's hoping you get to the generator before it gets popped, and even then, that's only one generator that has a chance of really holding back the survivors. They could still even power through that skill check. So in my eyes, Overcharge is definitely not as good as Ruin. It's not bad, it's just, when compared to Ruin, it does not do very much. Overwhelming Presence, it's got the same story as Franklin's Demise. Getting rid of items is decent, but it's not like a key necessity, especially when most items are not really being used all that much within the terror radius. Outside of like flashlights and sometimes medkits, it's not really that big of a use. But I can't say it's as bad as some of the perks below it. So, no, I'm gonna put it in B. I think Franklin's Demise is better, but yeah, it's just not seeing very much use. Oh, Jesus. Hang on, sorry about that. There we go. Professional video after all. I'm gonna go ahead and check I'm recording still. Play with your food. Play with your food is a joke. I say it's as worse as it's as bad. Alright, sorry. I think it's as bad as Insidious. It's stupid. First of all, you're hoping that you find your obsession. Just like Dying Light, that's already bad, because you're pretty much saying, I'm going to ignore any survivor that's not my obsession, which costs way too much time. And then you're saying, if I find my obsession, I'm going to intentionally end the chase multiple times. That costs you way too much time for the other 3 survivors to do gens. It's stupid. Predator. If scratch marks worked better, I think Predator would be very good, but scratch marks are so unreliable right now, I can't say it's very strong. I don't want to say it's bad. I can definitely say it's at least A-, but I don't think it's a perk you should be looking to run that often. I would run it over most of these perks down here, but it's not very good just due to how bad scratch marks are. Spies from the Shadows. It's not bad, because it does help to find people sometimes. Unfortunately, it's inconsistent, especially with perks like Urban Evasion being so popular. Crows aren't really being alerted within a 36-meter range that often, and so it's not very common that you're actually going to make use of it. But if you have this perk and it's kind of, you're missing a lot of these better perks up here, it's definitely not a bad perk to run. Shadowborn. Like Monitor and Abuse, I think it's a great luxury perk. That's kind of nice, but actually being worth a perk slot is a different story. I think every other perk above it is a lot more worth the actual perk slot over Shadowborn. It's a nice touch, but it's not actually providing much direct benefit to you. Sloppy Butcher. By standards that we're going off of, I should be saying that this perk is equal to Thrill of the Hunt or Bitter Murmur because it's only good when combined with Bloodhound. However, I still think it's slightly better because even if you run this perk on its own, at level 3, this perk makes survivors bleed so much their trail is almost never ending. And with how, like I've said multiple times now, how unreliable scratch marks are, that consistent trail of blood is so useful. Even if it's not sticking out vividly with Bloodhound, it's very helpful to keep track of people. Save the best for last. I can't say it's as bad as Play With Your Food. However, it's not very consistent because you are hoping that the chase lasts at least 20 seconds. And if you accidentally hit your obsession, or sorry, it doesn't actually have to be the obsession, but if you hit somebody and you accidentally didn't wait at least 20 seconds, then the perk becomes completely useless at that point. And so it actually makes playing in a chase so awkward because you're like trying to count to 20 before you take the hit. While the 40% reduction is good and it can really help you to get back from that recovery and chase them down faster, it's way too awkward to actually get that benefit. Stridor. With how popular stealth play is, I do think that it's not bad. It's not uncommon that you'll hit somebody and then they'll run off and they'll try to pull an urban evasion maneuver like around a rock or something to avoid you. Being able to increase their noises of pain is very helpful for that kind of situation, and just due to how popular stealth is right now, because getting involved with the killer is not necessary, I think Stridor is a great counter to that stealth play. Territorial Imperative. I still can't say it's as bad as either of these two perks. It's not good because unless you hook somebody in the basement, you're really not going to get any use out of this perk. The only other use you're going to get out of the perk is if somebody happens to go down there looking for the chest and you're 32 meters away. And if you're 32 meters away, then it's going to take you a while to get back to the basement unless you're the hillbilly or the nurse. And as soon as the survivor starts hearing a heartbeat, they're either going to book it out of the basement or they're going to get in one of the lockers, and you better hope you pick the right one. Gotta make sure I'm recording now. So it's just way too situational. The Nida Phobia. I cannot say that this perk is as good as any of these up here, by no means. However, because, like I've said before, it's not too uncommon that you're going to be losing people after you hit them once, I do think it's not bad, because you're going to be getting pretty decent benefit out of this. Even if you only are hurting one person, it's still a good little slowdown on people. I think it has about equal use to Iron Grasp, and it's a good perk because it delays survivors' gen progress, and any perk that can do that effectively is great. Tinkerer. I really want to put the perk in D tier. This perk, as long as it has the same functionality, will never go above C tier, because it is a perk that is literally useless unless you combine it with add-ons, and that's not how a perk should be in my eyes. I don't think any perk should be relying on add-ons. That's just counterintuitive, especially whenever it's only specific add-ons, like the Doctor only can be hindered by Tinkerer. When combined with certain add-ons, it only hurts him further by increasing the charge time of his power. The perk's stupid in design, and I don't like it. Unrelenting. I really don't want to say it's as good as all these perks, but it is, because it's honestly not too uncommon that you will miss a swing. You could just lunge at somebody in a desperate attempt to hit them before they reach the pallet, and being able to recover from that hit's better. Even, really good players might do that. And, it's not too uncommon. It's not like you're never gonna miss. So I can't say it's completely useless. I don't think it's good. I would run, every perk above it, over it, but I can't say it's terrible. Unnerving Presence. It's not too uncommon to see people try to get a gen done within your terror radius. People will be so desperate to get to gen rush that they will keep doing the gen even if they hear a heartbeat, and sometimes that Unnerving Presence can be that thing that throws them off, and they explode the generator and that stops it from popping. I think that makes it a lot more useful. So that's why I can even say it's I don't even see, like, A-, I think? Yeah, A-. So yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually pretty strong, just due to the average survivor's behavior. Whispers. It's not bad either. It's about like Unnerving Presence, because most of the time if Whispers is going off, they're probably doing the gen that you were heading toward, and they're probably not even going to get off of it. But even if they do get off of it, you're going to see all the progress that was made on that gen, and then you're going to start looking around the rocks and stuff, and that's also going to beat Urban Evasion most of the time. And so, yeah, I think it counters just a lot of a popular perk and a popular just playstyle right now. But I can't say it's as good as any of these perks up here. So that's the killer tier list. If you're looking for the perfect build, then these 4 perks here are probably what's going to give you your best shot. Definitely a Nurse's Calling and Barbecue and Chili. The hexes are optional, I suppose. If you wanted to switch these 2 out, I would be doing Overcharge instead of Ruin, and maybe Brutal Strength instead of No One Escapes Death. There's some build up. You can kind of build around these 2 hexes, but Barbecue and Chili and a Nurse's Calling should be 2 staples of your build, without a doubt. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and we might make a Survivor tier list, and we'll probably make a video discussing Hexer and an Overcharge. Thanks.